Hello everyone, back again to Coconut Story, where we give you stories for your entertainment. If you want more like this, please like, comment and subscribe. By Coconut Army. Have you ever stepped into a place so ancient, so untouched, that it felt like the world itself was holding its breath? That's what the forest was, a realm of whispers and shadows, where every step seemed to lead you further from the familiar. Our protagonist wasn't looking for anything extraordinary that day. He was just wandering, letting the stillness settle over him. But sometimes, when he was least prepared, the extraordinary found him. This is his story.
The forest was a cathedral of life, vast and unconcerned with my presence. I wandered among its towering trees, letting my thoughts drift with the breeze. The quiet murmur of nature surrounded me, the occasional rustle of unseen creatures, the chatter of birds, and the whisper of leaves brushing against one another. But as I moved deeper, something changed. The air grew heavier, almost electric. My steps slowed, and then I saw it. A dead tree loomed ahead, stark and lifeless amid the vibrant forest. Its skeletal branches reached skyward, as if pleading to a sun that no longer answered. Coiled around one of its limbs was a thing. It was not a snake in any ordinary sense, though its form resembled one. It was black. No, black wasn't sufficient. This blackness devoured light, creating a void so complete it defied understanding. It was as if a rift in the fabric of existence had taken shape. Only its eyes gave it presence, faintly glimmering like dying embers. Those eyes, I know I saw them, but if you ask me to draw it, I can't recall them. I stood frozen, pinned by that gaze, my breath shallow and my heart racing like a trapped animal's. And then I heard it, a voice, deep, resonant, calm. It didn't come from the snake, nor from anywhere in the forest. It was simply there, slipping into my mind as though it had always been waiting.
I wonder.
The words had no malice, but they carried weight, as if the universe itself paused to listen. My fear drained away, replaced by an unnatural calm that left me lightheaded, almost drowsy. The forest sounds persisted. Birds chirping, the faint rustle of leaves. But they seemed impossibly distant now. I managed to find my voice. Who? What are you? My words stumbled out, trembling but audible.
What am I?
The voice repeated, each syllable deliberate. Pause followed, heavy with thought.
I am.
The final word was incomprehensible, slipping through the cracks of my understanding like water through clenched fingers. I grasped for it, but trying to recall it sent a sharp pain through my skull. I flinched. I exhaled shakily. What does that mean?
It means.
The voice shifted, tinged with a faint amusement.
The closest word you have is God.
I stared at the snake, if it could even be called that, grappling with the enormity of its claim. My fear returned in a cold rush, but I forced myself to speak. Are you evil? The snake's head tilted slightly, its movement eerily smooth.
Evil. By your definition, perhaps not.
A pause stretched into silence. Then,
Or perhaps I am.
its eyes fixed on mine, and I felt a pressure behind them, like standing too close to the edge of a vast abyss. Instinctively, I looked away, my gaze falling to the forest floor. The voice returned, calm as ever.
Tell me.
It began, its golden eyes gleaming like distant stars.
If you destroy an anthill, do you consider yourself evil?
The question sank into my mind like a stone dropped into a deep well, rippling through my thoughts. I tried to dismiss it, yet 1,000 analogies clawed their way to the surface. The faces of my loved ones flickered in my memory, fragile as candle flames in a storm. Yes, I finally whispered, the word trembling on my lips like a leaf caught in the wind.
Then, if an anthill appears in your kitchen, would you let it remain?
The question unsettled me, and I hesitated before responding. No, I said softly, my thoughts racing to keep up. I'd destroy it.
And would you call yourself evil for doing so?
I faltered. I don't know. Maybe. But it's my kitchen. I need to keep it clean. The voice hummed faintly, as if considering my answer. The weight of the analogy settled over me. My stomach churned. Do you see us as ants? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper.
I see you as you are.
The words offered no comfort, only an unsettling clarity. I stepped closer to the tree, my legs trembling but determined. Finding a smooth stone to sit on, I lowered myself slowly. I couldn't stand any more in its presence, keeping a respectful distance from the snake while positioning myself to face it directly. It remained utterly still, coiled around the branch like a monument carved from shadow. Its stillness wasn't reassuring. It was dangerous, like a predator that didn't need to move to assert its dominance. Can you see the future? I asked, my voice steadier now.
In fragments.
It replied.
Enough to know patterns, but not the weave.
Can you manipulate time?
Not as you imagine. Time is slippery, chaotic.
Are you omnipotent? Omniscient?
No.
The simplicity of the answer chilled me. This wasn't the God of sermons or scripture. This was something other. I swallowed hard, my mouth dry. Why are you here?
To observe.
It said plainly, as though it were the most obvious thing in the world. To observe what? I pressed.
My interference.
I sat back, the implications gnawing at me. Can you make me immortal? The question slipped out before I fully thought it through.
Immortal?
For the first time, there was a trace of something in its voice. A flicker of curiosity, perhaps?
You are too fragile for immortality. Too entangled in what you are. But perhaps.
I shuddered, unsure whether to feel hope or dread. Are there others like you? I asked, grasping at the enormity of what I'd stumbled upon.
Yes.
The answer struck like a hammer. I wasn't sure what terrified me more, the existence of this being, or the idea that it was not alone. What will be humanity's future? I asked, my voice thin. The snake tilted its head toward the fading sky, as though reading something I couldn't see.
Destruction. In 150 years by your time.
I felt the world tilt beneath me. What will cause it?
Closest word by your language is an asteroid. It's moving too fast for you to realize its presence.
My breath caught in my throat. Can we stop humanity's extinction? His gaze returned to me.
It's not impossible.
A pause, heavier this time.
My interference will cause deviation.
My mind raced, trying to understand. Why are you a snake? I asked finally, desperate to ground myself in something tangible. The creature didn't answer my question. It shifted slightly, its coils gliding with an unnatural grace.
Do your best because...
The rest of its words blurred, fading into an incomprehensible hum. My vision dimmed, the edges of the world dissolving into darkness. When I woke, the sun had set. The dead tree was there without any change. Only the forest remained, unchanged and unconcerned. As I stumbled back towards civilization, one thought echoed in my mind. What should I do?
As I listened to their story, I couldn't help but feel a strange unease settle over me. Whether it was truth or delusion, their words carried a weight I couldn't ignore. That dead tree, that void-like snake, the cryptic warnings, each detail etched itself into my mind, refusing to fade. And then there was the question they left me with: what would I do if I was in his place? What would any of us do? Could you walk away from something like that and pretend life is the same? Maybe you'd dismiss it as a wild tale spun from exhaustion or fear. Maybe you'd bury the responsibility, and hope it was someone else's burden to carry. But maybe, just maybe, you'd feel it too. that tiny voice whispering that the world isn't as simple as you thought. That there are forces watching, waiting, nudging us along paths we barely understand. I don't know what they chose to do. I don't even know if I believe them. But as I sit here now, recounting their story to you, one thought keeps circling back to me, gnawing at the edges of my certainty. What if they were right?